Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our guest is the chief engineer for Dr. Dre and Aftermath Records and an absolute rising superstar. You'll meet him in a minute. Let's check in with Finn the Mix Pup. He's been hunkered down, listening to a lot of Bob Marley and reggae. There's been some funny smells coming out of his house. Finn, where you at? Oh, here you are. Ah, there's the man. Hey, Finn. Check him out. So as Finn says, make sure you wash your hands or your paws, practice social distancing and stay at home. I'm gonna let him get back to his reggae stuff. He's doing his thing. Ivy. All right, Finn. Look, we want to give a major shout out to the healthcare workers on the front lines. They are heroes, risking themselves and their families for you and us and our health. We just want to say we see you. We owe you a debt of gratitude. Heck, it might be even possible we owe you our lives. So shout out from Pensado's Place and all the audio family around the world. And you can go to pensadosplace.tv for any COVID resources that you may need. So make sure you do that. Want to take a second to also let you know that we've had an incorrect link for the Lil Maestro Program, but we've got it correct right now. You can see it here. It is ausounds.com/pages/little-maestros. Make sure you check that out. It's a weekly half-hour music instruction program for kids, 3 levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, multiple disciplines. You can catch the program at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. It's brought to you by Ausounds. We love this headphone company. They make headphones for music creators. Dave and I both sanction them greatly. We're going to have their CMO on soon to talk more about that. So catch that program. Also, want to give a shout out to a couple of execs who continue to kick butt during this crisis. First off, Becky Barabbas at Harman in their Pro Audio division is absolutely amazing. Sent her one email. She took care of us. She took care of an account. Some dear friends of ours in DC, Ron Dixon, Studio 202. You see the sexy AKG Lyra mic, works like a charm right out of the box. Harman, let me just tell you, Becky is very special. She's a beloved member of the Pro Audio community and represents the company and the product the way it should be. We meet a lot of folks and we know the stars who stand out. She's one of them. So big ups to you, Beck. We love you. Also, our man Derek Floyd at IK Multimedia, always there when needed, just a phone call away, knows his stuff, knows everybody, respected across the board. Also, check out his series called Beautiful Now. It posts on Monday mornings, and they also are now doing a live version on YouTube. So, Becky and Derek, you are Pensado preferred for sure. We love you. Now, a really special segment that a lot of people are liking. We've got the first one. It's called Shop Talk, and we're going to take a look at people's creative spaces. And first one up is an absolutely talented beast of a mix engineer. His wife is also a beast. Love them both. Listen to and watch Josh Gudwin and his Shop Talk.
What up, Dave and Herb? Josh Gudwin here in my studio. Right now I'm working solo. Me and my assistant engineer, Elijah, are taking shifts. He's coming in early to prep mix passes and mix stems and wiping the areas down that, we touch every day. And then I come in, I mix and I wipe down, and then he comes in and he does more of what he needs to do. So some new precautions we're taking with the coronavirus in place and isolating ourselves and making sure that we're staying safe for our family and friends as possible. But yeah, I just want to start off by saying that. Also, Dave, I love you. Herb, I love you too. Appreciate everything you guys have done for this community, and honor you guys for that forever. Like, we're indebted to you guys for sharing information and inspiring the next generation of engineers, mixers, and producers out there. So let's just get that out there. I'm doing this all in one take off the cuff, so if I'm not politically correct or I say some things that I shouldn't say, I apologize in advance, but it is what it is. So start off with the stew, ATCs. Fuck with that camp high shit. What's this right here? Oh yeah, Bad Bunny album, fire. Guarding the Bad Bunny album, ATCs on every mix. I start off my mixes with the ATCs. I get a good blend going on, good balance EQ, and then I switch over to my Amphions. Great speakers. On my ATCs, like for example, my kick can have about 1 to 3 decibels of play. When I switch to my Amphions, 1 to 3 decibels shrinks down to about a half decibel up to a decibel and a half of play. So they have a little more focus on certain elements on my mix and resonance, which I like. I enjoy mixing on the ATCs more, but I find that this combination together work very well. Running the new Mac Pro. Sorry, my cables are a little messy right here. I've been moving studios and trying new things out. But anyways, Mac Pro right here. Elijah spent about 3 weeks building this thing up to working potential. I'm working on it right now. I've done about 25 mixes through here. It's running flawlessly. JL Fathom Sub. Some Cleon Peterson bronze pieces right there. Terran Last Gun art to motivate. Patch Bay mix stream. I do my mixes through my mix stream. Convert with the AD Plus. On my insert, I have a back CQ and a dangerous EQ that or a dangerous compressor that I've been rocking for a while. I enjoy it. I like this mix stream because it's easy for me to recall my gain staging, and I note that in my my pre-master comment section and on recall software. Let's see. Always have a dagger nearby. I don't know. I just always have a dagger nearby. I have a set for control. It says PMCs there, Amphions. I don't rock PMCs, never have. Dylan Dresdo gave me a pair of PMCs that sat in my studio for about 1.5 years, and he owes me a little rent check for storage. This cool little, this is my Bunny, Pro R insert. Real quick. Coming over here, this Coleman audio switcher is my switcher that I use to go on my Bose NS10s and Oratones. And once I get done with my ATC and Amphion combo, I go on there, listen down, and then I go on here, listen down, and then I'll go on my AT5s, these Audio Technicas. They're great. They expose a lot of the high frequency stuff that sometimes I fight with. Also have these Audis that I don't really use, but I have them. I use a 176 for vocal parallel compression. Let's see, I don't know what I have it set here. 8-to-1. I usually don't touch this thing. It's pretty much, I just set it to where it's hitting the compression I like. This thing needs to be calibrated, as you can see here. So, I don't know. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, I don't think it matters. This EQ, this Alicia Music EQ, I've had on probably the last couple hundred mixes that I've done as a plugin. And earlier this year, I decided to buy it because it's just such a good EQ. And I was struggling to find an EQ. I wanted to buy a mastering EQ, and I was like trying all these mastering EQs. And I was like, you know what? I use this EQ on every single mix I do. I might as well buy the hardware unit, and this thing sounds delicious. What else is over here? Yeah, more stuff. Electricity. I keep the other ones at the house, but you know, gotta stay motivated and stay inspired. Some Bunny shit. Let's see, some records, vinyl. Back here, this was this old Hackintosh I've been using. I ain't using that anymore. Okay, storage. We'll go back here to the spring. This spring is badass. The lights aren't on, but it works. It's a great box. I use this as an insert, my spring insert. This thing graces pretty much every record I use in one capacity or another. I love it a lot. That's that. Some vinyl. Yeah, that's about it. This is the rig. Down here I got the Bricasti, and I control that with a plug-in Small Hall is my go-to default. And then I use my Symphony for summing, and I use my HDIO for all my returns and stuff like that. And yeah, this is the rig. Sterling Modular D desk. Nothing too fancy. Didn't get the wood trim on here. Got the mask up for when I'm working in close quarters with Elijah. If I need to, we try not to work closely together now, just to keep the social distancing up so we don't bring anything back to our family. And we take that pretty serious. And then down here is my trusty sidekick, Stacks the Gudwin. He likes chilling out back here with the heat. So he's back here chilling, keeps the morale up. This is non-mix essential, but get little vibes going on with the synths. What's this? Sage Yoga. Dig it, dig it, dig it. These are cool cups made by my friend Addie, and I'm drawing a blank here. Oh shit, there's water in there. I'm drawing a blank here. Oh yeah, BX Ceramics, Becky. They make dope stuff. And yeah, this is the stew. Off the cuff. No edits, no rehearsed. The little punching I did is like I said, I couldn't swap over to the camera flip. And this is what we got. Dave, Herb, we love you. Thank you. Peace out, brothers. Stay safe out there.
One conversation with our guest, and you'll understand why Dr. Dre made him chief engineer of Aftermath and his own personal engineer. This guy's got gears and a future that is amazingly bright. We completely enjoyed our conversation with him. We think you will too. Please enjoy and meet the one, the only Quentin Gilkey. What's up?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be
here. Touch elbows with me, Quentin.
That's where we're at now. It's like our new normal.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, your elbow looks like it might have a little something on it, some COVID. You want to get a wipe and
that's about 20 too many R&B projects. I think.
Yeah, the elbows on the board, man.
You catch it electronically through the console, right? Right, Quentin, you know all about that, right?
I get it, man. I guess why I wear long sleeves, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Quentin and I have to deal with Ashy, so that's a whole
exactly.
Yeah. So Quentin,
I got a little ash. I mean, come on, man.
Come on. No, anyways, so Quentin, the history is interesting because you were trained in classical and jazz piano, and what we have seen over the course of all these interviews is that being a musician can absolutely be an advantage when you're engineering and mastering and recording. Do you agree with that? Give us your philosophy.
I absolutely agree with that. And I find it interesting being where I am currently with Dre and all the musicians he works with on a day-to-day basis, and how I'm able to communicate with them in a way. And I kind of sometimes say that we don't even have to verbally talk to each other. We can simply look at each other and understand, okay, this downbeat's coming right here, the key change, chord change, whatever is happening right here. And those kinds of things, along with the technical side of it, I feel like have propelled me in a certain sense. And it, like you said, almost invaluable.
You know what it's very similar to is whenever we are either in or interviewing somebody from Nashville, the communication that those musicians have together, where they can walk into a session, look at each other, take some sheet music, and knock it out in a take or two, and the engineers are musical and the producers are musical, makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
How much latitude and influence does Dr. Dre give you in terms of non-mixing things, more production ideas and things like that? Is he open to those sorts of things from you?
It's very much like an open forum to the whole room almost. So it's like he feels as if, and this is just my opinion looking at it, but I feel like Dre can pull influence from anyone. If I'm just a person in the room watching, right? And I say, for example, I really think it could be cool if X, Y, and Z happened. And that may spark something in Dre's mind, and that will send the whole trajectory in a different way for the session. And they may create something incredibly special from that one little idea. And it can come from anywhere. It can come from me. It can come from the most experienced musician. It can come from just a bystander in the back of the room. But he's open to all of that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's super cool. He's notoriously a perfectionist. Give us the process when as Dave we talked about before we came on air. How does the day go when you work with Dre?
Yeah, I mean, like most engineers, we get there early, make sure the equipment's running, and we're given with SSLs, and there may be something when they're setting it running.
Early, like 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 2 in the afternoon, or what time is early?
Like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Is kind of where we're at.
That's not early.
That's early. But when you walk out of the studio and the sun's coming up the next day, then it's early. All relative, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we get in the room, and I have my my other engineers that are helping me out, and we're getting set up, and we're making sure, okay, we know that there's going to be 5 producers and musicians in today, right? So we're making sure we know, okay, we can run their laptops directly to the board. We're checking signal in the Pro Tools, making sure the microphone's up and working, so that Dre can just walk in the room and like everyone's up and running, right? Yeah. And then from there, it's like I said, as of recent, it's been 4 or 5 musicians / producers in the room, all kind of working collectively at one time. So as the engineer, we're collecting all those signals from their laptops or keyboards, whatever they may be using, right? And again, they're all playing at the same time. So from my perspective, I'm trying to manage 5 different creative minds and then Dre's mind as well. And you want to make sure you stay a step ahead of everyone, right? So you want to make sure that if you see someone going to play a keyboard, that you're capturing that, whatever they're putting down. It may not be anything relative to what's going on, but again, it goes back to my original thing that I was saying. It's like it may spark something in Dre, right? And if it didn't get captured, then there's an issue there, right? So the whole session kind of goes like that, and I'm capturing these kick drums, and I'm capturing keyboard lines, synth lines, and we're putting them in Pro Tools, and we're structuring, arranging as Dre is saying, okay, I want 4 bars of this, then the keyboard comes in here, take the drums out there. So that kind of communication between Dre and I is happening, as well as he is directing the musicians as to like what he feels may be the right direction, right? And then they kind of do their thing as musicians, add to it, take away, whatever they feel is best. And then, we may lay down 2 or 3 different beats. And at the end of the night, I go back, print all of those, and get them out to Dre for him to listen to, and they just keep cycling like that.
And when you do,
it sounds like you're describing an Anderson .Paak session as opposed to an Eminem session. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's just like a collective thing where you have no idea when you walk in what's going to happen, but you walk out with something that may be truly incredible, right? Yep.
But your job is to always be ready and make sure everybody's ready. Organize along the way. Now he likes to do vocals, or if he's doing a rap or whatever, in the control room, correct?
Everything happens in the control room.
I love that.
I think the only time something gets recorded in the booth is when there's like maybe a horn section, string section, or live drums. Other than that, like a single trumpet solo, that kind of stuff happens in the room, in the control room. Vocals, all that stuff, because he likes to be able to just kind of like reach out and say, hey, let's try it like this. Let me show you, instead of trying to get on a talk back and talk to someone and you can't necessarily see the emotion come out.
I was just getting ready to say it would seem to me, and you've already said it, but it would seem to me that personal connection being right there translates to better performance. And
absolutely.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. And the connection, it's just like being able to just be right there next to someone trying to convey an emotion to you I think that's where it's at. And that's why he does what he does.
When you're recording in the control room, are you using the main speakers for monitors? Is everybody wearing headphones, or how do you get by without getting bleed?
That's a really good question. So the microphone has, I don't know if you're familiar with the eyeball. So the
I
microphone
am.
has this foam
Chaotic.
thing, it goes around, it's like a circular thing. Okay, so that has the eyeball around the mic. We're using the near field speakers at an extremely low volume. And usually the only person wearing headphones is the artist singing or playing an instrument on the microphone. I will use headphones to just kind of like dial in a sound just because I can't fully hear sometimes because the monitors being so low. But beyond that, I'll take them off and just make sure I'm staying connected in the room as opposed to like connected in the headphones.
Yeah, that's so important. Cool stuff.
So are you sitting at a Pro Tools rig during the whole time? Or are you sometimes at the board? Because Dre will fire up that SSL in a heartbeat, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he knows every single knob and button on that thing and what it does and its potential, how to use it. And so, Pro Tools is where we're at most of the time as engineers. But, it's like sometimes Dre will be like, Q, use the board, get over and EQ this stuff, do some stuff to it, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, you forget about it, and you go over there and you like dial in a sound, whatever we're recording at the time, and sometimes he'll just automatically go over and do it, and I keep my eye on him and what he's doing in that moment, and we EQ everything that goes into Pro Tools before, so we're technically mixing before we get to Pro Tools each sound that happens. So Dre will ask, okay, where's it going in? And I'll tell him, channel 88 is going into Pro Tools channel 88. And he'll go in and like EQ that channel. I'll make sure the gain staging is good because once you start EQing, adding or subtracting, it changes where we're at. And then, that sound gets recorded. But these things are happening so fast, but it's almost just like you're on autopilot and you understand and you connect and you just know, okay, I have to do this step after he does this step.
It's like a really good basketball team,
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to spot up in the corner, you're going to hit him once you go to the hole and he's ready for the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
I love it. And I tell you what, for what little bit we saw, there's sometimes certain movies where all the dialogue from, and I could probably repeat all the dialogue from the Defiant ones because I've only watched it about 655 million times. Part of it is because it was fascinating, and part of it is because I've had a lot of experience with Jimmy, so I've spent a lot of time with him and some stuff. But how was shooting that and you being in it and all that kind of stuff? That was a moment.
It's crazy to even like say that you're in that moment because the cameras don't exist. At least to me, I'm doing my job and I'm there and I'm focused on what Dre is doing. But I find that scene that you're speaking of so unique because people don't get to see that side of Dre.
100%.
And what you saw is what happens when he's doing vocals. I mean, he's meticulous. And we may spend 20 minutes on the word it, Love it. But it has to convey a certain emotion that he has to feel, and then it will translate. And I think that's how he approaches every single thing that he does musically, creatively, however you want to expand that and how broad you want to make it. But I think he's just a perfectionist at that, and he's incredible at it,
Vocal line, you're kind of like the widely known as the guy that can manipulate vocal line as good as anybody, vocal line.
Thank you.
You guys,
Thank you.
Are you vocal aligning everything? I get the impression that you're doing it with instruments. You're doing it with vocals. We're doing
it with everything we possibly can. Yeah. So I mean, guitar. Like if you have for example, say a rhythm guitar, those tracks get stacked. So we may do 2 or 3 stacks to a rhythm guitar line, right? And so Dre will say, okay, let's pan those hard left and right and have one up the center. If we do 4, then we'll have 2 hard left and right. And then, 2 sitting at like 10 and 2 or something, right? For the sake of example. But those things have to flow perfectly together, rhythmically together. And honestly, like with the drums perfectly. So if there's any fluctuation that happens with the musicality of it, that has to be fixed with vocal alignment. But I don't want to say take the musicality out of it. Just
his mixes are so clear and so clean and so that's just. Do you think it's a function of putting all of those stacks in perfect time together because then it doesn't create an artificial width or an artificial screw with the phantom middle? Do you think it contributes to his sound?
I think it
seems
does
like it does.
1,000%.
Wow.
Yeah, I really do.
That's a headline right there, huh?
I think it take even a kick drum, right? There's not, I find it rare in our sessions that you will find one single kick drum throughout the song, right? So you will have maybe 2 or 3 kick drums happening throughout the song, and those things have to be, I mean, within sample perfect, right? So I'm nudging each kick to where they're lined up with the sample of the original kick, if you will, so that we're getting the kind of masking happening with the kicks. It's like they're at their full potential, sitting on top of each other at their full power.
This is because you print them through an MPC or an SP1200 or something, and so the clocks are looser on those older types of.
It could be that. It could be simply that the
possible?
transients are slightly different. Like one kick may be a little softer than like more of a solid kick. So
you're going there.
Like once you get, a single solid kick and a single softer kick lined up perfectly, those get flown down the session so that it never changes and it's always perfect. Each kick drum you feel and hear.
But see, that's why to me,
cool.
So much of Dr. Dre's musicality is there are hooks upon hooks upon hooks upon hooks, all inside the music, and it's all that meticulousness that starts to you feel in your body. You sometimes can't even articulate with your ears, but something grabs you in ways that is really unique to his production. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, 1,000%. What it is, I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Like, what is that causes that and creates that? But just from a technical standpoint, what I do on a day-to-day, it's like we're really meticulous in the sounds. And how do we get the best bass? How do we get the best strings? How do they sit well together? How do they not avoid and hit each other in negative ways? And that's the key to it. And the funny thing about it is these things have to happen in real time. They're not necessarily happening after the session.
Wow.
So Dre wants to be able to hear them in that moment.
Wow.
So, you get really good at moving things around the session and, just more importantly, you get good at listening, and I think training this is 90% of the game.
But you're also speedy.
You
right?
have to be. You have to be
fast and exact.
Yeah. Because if you play it back and it's wrong, he was like, I want professionalism. And I think that drives you. It drives you to be better. And I love having that because I truly believe that it's a challenge that drives us to be the best version of us that we can be. And, if you don't have that, at least for me, I find myself kind of relaxing a little bit. But I like to be on the edge of my seat and being driven every day. And he does that. And he does it to everyone,
Give us your path. So from University of Pittsburgh upward to Crafts and then on and on. Give us the Quentin story.
Yeah. So, I went to school, Pittsburgh State University, for music, and I wanted to be a jazz piano player. I knew it in my heart. This is exactly what I wanted to do. I got there, realized about halfway through that I do not want to be a performance major. So I focused on just overall music and getting that music degree and counterpoint and theory and orchestration, as well as a business degree. And during that time at that halfway point, my friends and I were just randomly having rap battles and we needed someone to record those battles. So I took it upon myself to learn Pro Tools and record those sessions. And again, it was all fun and games. There was nothing ever meant by it. We were just having fun. And I realized that there may be something in this because I was having fun. So I went to my faculty advisor. He said, check out this school in Arizona called the Conservatory of Recording Arts. I applied, so on and so forth, ended up in Arizona. But I finished my degree in Pittsburgh, then moved to Arizona. And went through the program, the engineering program there. And they were able to connect me with an internship. And they said, you can either go to Miami, New York, or Los Angeles. What would you like to do? And I said, let's just go to Los Angeles. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
And they connected me with a studio called Ocean in Burbank, and it was very much a rock studio. And, you know, they have this incredible drum room. It's all brick and wood. And, you know, that's where you wanted to record your rock drums, right? And so I truly loved that experience there. And that was around 2009. I stayed there, I think, around 6 months. And through a friend of a friend that worked there, his roommate worked at Paramount Recording in Hollywood. And he said, hey, I can hook you up with a paid gig. Because I was just interning at Ocean. I mean, I was doing nothing but cleaning toilets, you know,
No money.
and getting food. No money, nothing. I mean, it was tough. But I said, you know what? It's a paid gig. I'll take it. Like anything I can get. So I went over to Paramount, got the job. And that was around October of 2009. And by January 2010, they had moved me over to Encore, where Dre had the whole studio booked out. And I ended up getting in really good with his right-hand man, Larry. And like, we were just, you know, we were friends. Like, he would have me do little things. And like, he was like, go mail this letter for me or whatever. And I'm like, why would I go mail a letter? You know, but I'll do it for you. It doesn't matter. But I don't get the significance of it, you know? But looking back at it, he just wanted to make sure I could do extremely small tasks and do them properly.
That's weird.
Right?
Yeah.
So
was Mauricio Iragori there then? Mauricio is my boy.
He was, man. And I'm getting to him too, because he is a true inspiration.
Can't forget him.
So you know, they were there for around 6 months or so, and I ended up kind of working the night crew with the writers and the producers when they were like writing to the music that Dre had created during the day. So, and I would assist those engineers working those sessions. And then Dre ended up leaving, taking everyone with him during that summer, 2010. Then after that, a couple of months later, I ended up working for Teddy Riley at Encore, because he then booked that studio out to work on the Michael project. And I was assisting those sessions, and those were brutal. I mean, we worked 3 days nonstop, then had a night's sleep, worked 3 days, and we never left the studio. I slept under the grand piano every time. The runners would go out and do our laundry, bring it back, and, you know, we would just keep going for 3 months.
Wow.
And, you know, that project ended, and then Dre ended up coming back to Encore, and that's when everything changed for me, because I started assisting Mauricio. And he is truly incredible at his craft.
Incredible.
And what I learned is like he's extremely mathematical at it, because I come from a musical approach to engineering, and he was just, I mean, meticulous at every single thing. And that's where I learned just the value of taking everything simple and just easy, and figuring out, you know, that you have to do everything perfectly, right? Just take your time and do it right. So that changed my trajectory and how I looked at engineering. So we were there for 2 years.
You know, the SSL there, you know whose board that was. It's 100 input SSL, and when it left me, it was 108, because I had a bucket of 8 stereo tracks. So I had 108 tracks on that console. It was my console.
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The front room and the 100 input SSL, that used to be my console at Enterprise.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Now the one in the back room, it has the bucket of the 8, right? The G.
Yeah. The back room was that was golly, I can't remember his name. Probably one of the most incredible engineers ever, Barney Perkins. That was Barney's room. It had the upstairs with the
upstairs apartment.
Yeah. I digress. By the way, when Mauricio was helping me and assisting for me, he was better than me at the time. That's how good he was. He was better than me when we were assisting. I had so much fun with him. Real quiet.
He's truly incredible, man. He's really incredible. And like, my story is nothing without him in it, you know, because like I said, he truly changed my outlook and trajectory on engineering. And from that moment on, I mean, you know, they were there for 2 years roughly, and they left again, and then I kind of started doing a lot of engineering gigs at Paramount. But from there, I understood what I needed to do. And I needed to like go to all the engineers, get as many templates as I could, figure out what they were doing and why they like those templates. Why do I like them? Why do I hate them? And make the best template for myself for recording to be extremely fast and efficient at what I do. And at the same time, I was trying to figure out, okay, if I look at every shortcut that you can use within Pro Tools, right? What will help me be faster and what do I not need? So I would study those every night and I would understand, okay, this command does this and this one does this. Oh, I need that. Oh, I don't need that. And I had to memorize them all. So, that's basically from, 2012 to 2014. And that was me working at Paramount, honing my craft as a recording engineer. And then in 2014, I happened to be working with an artist over at Aftermath. They just called me to kind of come in and work in the back room. And that was summer of 2014. And by 2014 in August, Dre had come back in and started working with a couple of new artists. And they were working for about a week and they needed an engineer. So I started helping them out. Dre was in and out. And they had laid a bunch of vocals ideas for Dre. And one day he said, you know what, I want to record these things. And it's the same story I told you before, where we go in and it's daytime and we left and it was daytime. And I will never forget this moment when he walked out of the room and he was like, you really hung with me. He walks out of the room. 5 minutes later, Larry comes in, the same person that gave me my first opportunity. He said, Dre wants to hire you full time. And then that's like the end of the story. So it's truly incredible. Yeah.
You know what? I think what's interesting about your story and why it's so important to our audience is that when the opportunity comes, you have to be ready.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to be preparing yourself for that opportunity, because there's a ton of people who get the opportunity and fail because they thought they could get ready then. You got to get ready beforehand and then knock it out the park when it comes. Is that
you got to be, and like that time when I was working with Mauricio and working at Paramount, I had no idea that was setting the stage for what was about to happen. Mm-hmm. But, when I was given the opportunity, I just said yes. I had no idea if I could do what he was wanting me to do, but I just said yes, and I just jumped in the deep end, if you will.
Absolutely.
I think that's like very telling to a lot of people.
So let me ask you this question. Why is the trippy mix from Anderson .Paak one of your favorites? What is it about it that makes it special?
It's not, that's funny. It's not necessarily the sonics of it. It's the story behind how we ended up mixing it. If you're familiar with the record, it starts off with like a skit and it's extremely soft and it builds into this like musical intro and then it gets into the drums. And the song keeps going, right? When we had it up on the board, and if you know anything about the SSL, once you're engaging all the EQs and you're EQing and you're turning up high end or doing whatever and your faders are up and we're at 96 channels wide on the board, you start to get a little more noise than you want. Mm-hmm. And Dave, you can attest to this.
They're done that.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing, and Dre tested me on this because I hadn't done this in years, and I'm fair. I like to think I'm young, and I came up after the whole analog era where you're using the board to automate. But coming up, I wanted to know how to do that stuff. So I taught myself how to use the board and automation. And on that mix, I said, Dre, why don't we just try to automate the cuts? We'll leave the faders isolated to where you don't have to worry about if you go in and touch them and move them. They won't affect they won't be written to automation. We'll just automate the cuts, cut everything on the board, and just start opening things up as the mix goes on. And then as it ends, we'll start cutting again because it ends softly. And he was like, go to work. So he's standing behind me, sitting right on the credenza, and he's like, okay, so where we start? And we just start going at it, and we're doing the cuts and the automation, and we're starting over and running the time back and starting again. And you just have to kind of go track by track and get it right. And the timing has to be impeccable. And so that in itself, and that test and that moment and that challenge makes that mix special for me. It's not just you open up a Pro Tools session and you go, it's like I really had to challenge myself on that. And, I look back at those moments where you're in the studio one day late night and you're trying to learn how to make the automation work on the board, and you're saying, why would I ever need this? And then the one day you actually need it,
Amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
But it does sonically sound amazing. Yeah.
Tracking for Anderson .Paak. I'd love to be in one of those sessions because Anderson, his band is probably as good a band as I've ever heard. And then with your skill set and with your background, I bet it was a perfect fit to track and mix some of those records like Oxnard and Ventura. I mean, is it? Do they track all of their stuff at the same time? And
I will say that they mostly do the tracking with Anderson's main engineer, Jair, who's incredible. He's an incredible engineer.
He
on
is.
those records, we were more so handling the production side of it after a lot of it was recorded. And that was just because of where Anderson came in and what music he had at the time when he met Dre. And he had a lot of that stuff kind of together, and then Dre just kind of like does what he does best, and he just kind of like put the Dre on it, right? Put the production on it.
Right.
So we were adding music to it, elements to it, different things, making the songs connect, and then mixing. But, you know, we would do vocals or any kind of instrumentation. And one thing I will say to your question is Anderson is truly an incredible artist. I mean, he will come in, we'll just have a blank slate, empty song, and in 10 minutes, he'll have like the whole concept, vocals laid, sung perfectly, backgrounds. It's truly an incredible experience to see him work. He is like one of the best at it, I think.
And
He's unbelievable. He's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can I tell you my one fanboy Dr. Dre moment?
Of course.
So back when I managed Ryan McKnight, we did a video where in the video, a plane crashes.
Okay. Yeah.
And we captured Brian's last conversation with his loved one as the plane crashes. We were at very sick perspectives at that time. And we're at the Playboy Mansion, and Dr. Dre came up and he's like, yo, man, I love that video. And probably for about 3 weeks, I was floating on air going, love our Back at One video. Oh my God. It was just, you know, but just that his eye would pick up the point of why we did that. And it wasn't the shock value, it was something else. And it was just the perception that he as a creator had. And so I carried that with me.
That's incredible. I mean, it's like when you do, I get that feeling too sometimes. Like I told you, you know, he challenges you to be the best you can. And when he gives you that thumbs up, he looks over at you and he gives you that look. You're just like, okay, we're good.
Exactly.
I would be a bad interviewer if I didn't bring up Compton. How was that working on that? That must have been that's a very important piece of work between the movie and the soundtrack. Do you have any good stories about that?
That was truly incredible, man. And you know, it's that was my first time, and I mean, I dove in the deep end again with that, working with Dre, and I didn't know if I was capable of recording this and file management, just everything involved with it. I would go to work every day and I'd be in my car just like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. What if something happens today? But, you know, you get over those nerves and you just tackle each day. But it's crazy to watch Dre's process because I was like fairly new to the process of watching a whole album come together with him. And the connections between the songs and how the album flows together is so important to him. And for the sake of example, you know, there's a scene created at the end of Loose Cannons where the boyfriend kills his girlfriend, right? And you hear her like fall on the floor. We literally like had the microphone on the floor and like people were falling to kind of simulate that sound. Like there's like, no, you don't have the right body type for it. New body type. Next person. You know,
wow. So what was the right body
sound
type?
he wanted, you know? So it's funny to just see those kinds of
body
moments.
type. A thin person or an overweight person was about which one was
you know, at the
best?
time I don't even remember who ended up making the cut, but it's just it's funny to watch. He'll say, no, how about you? Okay, next person. Yeah.
That's
Did he have the film parts of the film available to write semi scores to, or was the music for the soundtrack done without seeing any of the original video?
I know there was some video done. How far along in the project they were at the time, I don't honestly remember. I remember seeing a lot of scenes happening while they're writing to influence the writers, to influence the producers. But if I remember correctly, it was basically at its editing stage when they were like really getting into, okay, this is what the album's going to be. Let's make this picture happen with the picture of the album, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, question for you: the two-part question. One is, do you do things outside of Aftermath? And then, where's your goals? Where do you want to go with what you're doing?
Okay, yeah, I for the past few years, I've just been kind of focused on the family at Aftermath and just making sure that I want to mix for this artist, I want to mix for that artist, that producer, whatever you guys have, throw it my way. I wanted to, most importantly, make sure I was learning from Dre and that I felt confident here that I could deliver an up to par mix, right? Mm-hmm. And, watching him on the daily do mixes. And I mean, even if we're just creating a song, we're mixing it at the end of the night. Mm-hmm. He wants to hear the best mix he can when he gets in his car. Mm-hmm. So every day I'm watching a mix happen. I'm watching how he approaches it. So, to answer your question, I do mixes outside of Aftermath, and I want to get into more of that. Mm-hmm. I really want to jump in and just do as much as I possibly can now, because after being under his wing, I do feel like I can now take that process and really move forward with it. And moving forward, meaning over the next, let's say, 5 years or whatever, I want to make sure I'm doing mainstream mixes and they're saying, man, that sounds like that guy learned from Dr. Dre.
Absolutely. Well, I got some breaking news that I've been given permission to talk about. So you recently just got signed to one of the premier management companies in the business, GPS.
Yes,
Jeremiah and I were on the phone about 10 minutes ago, and he said, we haven't announced it yet. I said, well, can I announce it on the show? And he said, absolutely. So
that's incredible.
I just want you to know, from a manager's perspective, they have reached out. Their online people have reached out. They are on the case about this show. Our team has heard from them 3 or 4 times. Jeremiah and I talked for about 20 minutes earlier.
That's incredible. They've truly been incredible so far, and I cannot wait to see what's going to come of that. I know a vibe when I feel one, and the vibe between them and us, and it's just truly going to be something great. I know it. It's
a two-way street. They're excited, and so congratulations to you. Now the athlete in you has to get ready for batter's box. So Dave, pull up your batter's box and get it going. Now remember, he's got a fairly new baby. I think the baby's a little over a year old. Is that correct?
No, I got a 5-month-old.
Oh, a really new baby.
So I got 2 hours of sleep last night. So batter's box is all slow pitches.
Oh, well,
okay. I see where we're going.
Throwing the loop-de-loop. Here we go. Let's get ready for batter's box. Dave, fire away.
Okay, microphones.
C800. Sony C800.
Virtual synthesizers.
I would go with the company Output.
Live instruments.
Horns.
Stereo bus.
The BX Master Desk.
Oh, okay. Limiter.
I'll go with the Kramer tape. I like using that as a limiting thing.
Great answer. LUFS.
Ooh, I don't even know. I don't know how to answer that one. Next.
Good answer.
808s.
More, please.
Preamps.
1073.
Favorite EQ.
I'm going to go with the Chandler Curve Bender.
Good choice. Bass.
Moog.
Reverb.
Valhalla.
Loops.
Keep them coming. How about that one?
Auto-tune.
Lightly used.
Kick drums.
Well, Jesus. how long-
1073 again. I got to go with the 1073 again because I use it a lot on my kicks.
Okay. Well, you have now broken the record for the longest batter's box in history. It was 14 questions. So what a good time to do it.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. I hope I did okay.
No, you did okay.
You did great. You did great.
The cool part about what you did is you had a little swagger while you did it. You would do this kind of show.
How I think. I don't know. It's like it's just a natural thing that
No, I
happens.
love it. I love it. You should. You have earned the right to have swagger.
I appreciate it.
Here's what is really cool about who you are before we get out of here. You know, when I was talking to Jeremiah, we were talking about who you come across as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that your skill set is so high and you also just as a human being have such a bright light. It is actually when we spoke at Crass, one of the things that the faculty wanted us to talk about more than technical, or at least as much as technical stuff, was soft skills. And we keep saying to our audience, there's a lot for you to learn. You can be the best at Pro Tools, but if you're a jerk,
Right.
it's not going to work.
It never works. Vibe is everything. First off, thank you so much for saying that. I truly appreciate that. You know, I try to be as humble as possible because, you know, Dre has this saying that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should listen more than you talk. And I think that just be able to sit down and learn from someone to just listen is valuable. And, you know, it's just coming up. I wanted to make sure that I always listened and never got in the way of anyone, any artist or anything, because I want to make sure that the vibe is always right in the sessions and just in general. I find it so important. And I also wanted to make sure that I never pushed away any questions. You know, I always want to make sure that
I got a question. I got a question for you. Who has the more perfect teeth, Anderson .Paak or you?
Oh, Anderson, yeah. These are fake. I can pull these out right now, man.
Pretty live.
Because those choppers are impressive. We have some more. Jeremiah and I talked about a couple of the things we'd love to have you do, including shop talk. I'll tell you about that off camera and stuff like that. We would hope you would be a regular guest on our show and some of our events that we do.
Absolutely.
We are proud to have you. You are literally you're our first COVID-19 guest.
I appreciate it. This is our new normal, guys. I mean, you know, we're doing the best we can.
It is, and we wanted to save the best for the best. So
thank you so much. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to know you, and we're going to be utilizing you a lot. This flew by, and usually the great ones actually fly by like this. So, Dave, why don't you take us home? Quentin, we're so grateful for your presence, brother.
Thank you both so much for your time. It's truly an honor.
Absolutely. Dave, take us home.
You know, guys, we've done a few hundred episodes, and I hope that you've seen most of them. And I'm sitting here thinking, there was a time when I thought my process of getting from 0 to 100 was unique, and it's really not. It parallels Quentin's and parallels a lot of the people that most of the people we've had on the show. And Herb said this a couple of times, but preparation is the key to opportunity. And once you have an opportunity that you're prepared for, then you walk through that door. And we just interviewed a person that was always prepared, not when he needed it, but before he needed it. He planned ahead. That's better than me. I was lucky that I had the opportunities and had prepared myself for them. But it's a process, and that process can be slow, and it changes from time to time. So what got me to the top was completely different than what got Quentin to the top. And so review this episode and think about that pathway and incorporate some of those techniques into your ascent to the top. And we'll see you on the next episode, perhaps. Bye-bye.